A mother, a surrogate, a daughter who never knew the truth.
Have you ever carried a baby in your womb for 9 months and handed that child over to another woman to raise, not as a noble, generous act, but hiding a secret so dark it could destroy everything if anyone found out? Well, I did, and 15 years later, on Thanksgiving Day, I told the truth, and everything fell apart. My name is Grace Kim, and I live in Burnaby, British Columbia, a suburb of Vancouver where the Korean-Canadian community is so large you can go days without needing to speak English. I'm 42 years old now, working as an accountant at a small firm on Lougheed Highway, living a perfectly ordinary life. At least, that's what everyone thinks. But 15 years ago, I did something that changed the course of 3 lives forever. And I kept that secret locked so deeply inside me that sometimes I almost believed it never happened. Almost. The story begins when I was 26. I was engaged to James Park, my high school sweetheart, and we were planning our wedding for the following fall. Everything seemed perfect. But then my older sister, Hannah, called me, crying one March night. "Grace," she said, her voice breaking, "I can't. We've tried for 5 years, 14 rounds of IVF. There are no viable eggs left. The doctor said it's over." Hannah and David had been trying to have a baby since they got married. They'd spent over $100,000 on fertility treatments. They'd seen 3 different specialists. Nothing worked. And now, at 32, Hannah was facing the fact that she'd never be a biological mother. "What about adoption?" I asked gently. "The wait list is 5 to 7 years for a Korean baby in Canada," she said, sniffling. "And David doesn't want to adopt outside our ethnicity. He says he wants our child to look like us, to understand our culture." I didn't know what to say. I could hear the absolute anguish in my sister's voice, and it broke my heart. Hannah had always been the perfect sister. The favorite daughter, the one who did everything right, graduated with honors from UBC, married a successful surgeon, bought a beautiful house in Kerrisdale. The only thing missing was a baby. "There is another option," Hannah said after a long silence, "but I don't know if I can ask this." "What?" "Surrogacy. If we could find someone willing to carry a baby for us, we could use David's sperm and a donor egg, but, Grace, I know this is huge, but..." I knew where this was going. "Would you consider being our surrogate?" Hannah asked, her voice so small, so hopeful. "I know it's enormous. I know it's asking too much, but you're the only person I trust completely. And the baby would be at least half Korean through David. I know it's not the same as if it were my DNA, but..." She started crying again, and something inside me broke. "Let me talk to James. I'll think about it." James didn't want me to do it. He said it would interfere with our wedding plans, that pregnancy would change my body, that 9 months is too long to give someone. But I could see the desperation in Hannah's eyes every time I saw her, and in the end, I said yes. I went to the fertility clinic with Hannah and David in June. We chose a 23-year-old Korean egg donor from a catalog, college student, healthy, no genetic disease history. David provided his sample, and 2 weeks later, I was on the embryo transfer table, watching on the ultrasound as the doctor implanted 2 embryos into my uterus. "With luck," Dr. Chen said, smiling, "at least one will take." Both took. I was pregnant with twins. Hannah was overjoyed. She cried and hugged me and promised she'd take care of everything. All the medical bills, maternity clothes, everything I needed. David shook my hand formally and thanked me for this incredible gift. James looked worried, but supportive. Everyone thought this was the beginning of something beautiful. But here's what nobody knew. Here's the secret I've carried for 15 years. You see, a week before the scheduled egg retrieval from the donor, I got a call from the clinic. The donor had backed out. Last minute. Cold feet. It happens sometimes, they said. But Hannah and David had already paid for everything, had already scheduled the procedure, had already built their hopes up. The clinic coordinator, a woman named Linda, asked me to come in for an emergency meeting. When I arrived, she sat me down in a sterile office that smelled like antiseptic and told me they had two options. They could find a new donor, which would take weeks or months and cost another $20,000, or we could use your eggs, Linda said carefully. You're young, healthy, you're already genetically related to Hannah. The baby would technically be your biological child, but legally you'd be signing away all parental rights as a surrogate. Hannah and David would never need to know. We'd list it in the records as the original donor. It's not technically by the book, but it's been done before in situations like this. I should have said no. I should have walked out right then. I should have told Hannah and David the truth and let them make the decision. But I didn't. I thought about Hannah's face, streaked with tears, begging me to help her. I thought about how devastated she'd be if we had to start over. I thought about the money they'd already spent. And I told myself it didn't matter. The baby would still be theirs. I was just the vessel, right? Just the surrogate. What difference did it make whose eggs they were? So I agreed. I signed the papers, and a week later, they retrieved 15 eggs from my ovaries while I was under anesthesia. They fertilized them with David's sperm, and 2 weeks after that, they implanted 2 embryos back into my uterus. My embryos. My biological children, created with my eggs and my brother-in-law's sperm. And nobody knew but me and Linda. And Linda had made it very clear that this was our secret, that if anyone found out, she could lose her license and I could lose my family. The pregnancy was hard. I had terrible morning sickness for the first trimester. The twins pressed on my organs, making it hard to breathe, hard to sleep. James and I postponed the wedding. Hannah came to every ultrasound appointment with me, holding my hand, crying with joy every time she heard the heartbeats. And every single time, I felt like I was dying inside, because those heartbeats weren't just Hannah's future babies. They were mine, my children, growing inside me, and I was going to give them away. In my 7th month, one of the twins stopped moving. We rushed to the hospital. They did an emergency ultrasound. Twin B had died in utero. Something about the cord, they said. It happens sometimes with twins. There was nothing anyone could have done. Hannah sobbed. David held her. And I lay there, on the hospital bed, feeling the loss of a child that was supposed to be someone else's, but was actually mine. And I couldn't grieve properly because nobody knew the truth. We had to deliver early to prevent infection. At 32 weeks, I was induced. After 18 hours of labor, I gave birth to one living baby girl weighing 4 pounds, 2 ounces, and one stillborn baby boy. Hannah got to name them. She called her Lily. The boy was named Ethan. He was buried in a small private ceremony. I wasn't allowed to speak at it because I was just the surrogate, just the vessel. Lily stayed in the NICU for 6 weeks. I wasn't allowed to visit her much because Hannah thought it would be confusing if Lily bonded with me instead of her, so I went home to my empty apartment with James and tried to recover from giving birth to babies that everyone thought weren't mine. The physical recovery took months. The emotional recovery never happened. James and I got married the following spring. We tried to move on. We tried to build our life. But I couldn't stop thinking about Lily, about Ethan, about the fact that my biological daughter was being raised by my sister and she had no idea. Hannah sent me photos of Lily all the time. Lily's first smile, Lily's first steps, Lily's first day of preschool. And every photo was like a knife in my chest because I wasn't just Aunt Grace. I was her mother, and I couldn't tell anyone. James and I tried to have our own children. We tried for 3 years. Nothing happened. The doctor said my fertility had been damaged by the twin pregnancy and the early delivery. They said I'd probably never carry a pregnancy to term. Ironic, isn't it? I gave my sister the baby she always wanted and destroyed my own chance of ever being a mother. James left me 5 years ago. He said I was distant, that I'd changed after the surrogacy, that he couldn't connect with me anymore. He was right. How could I connect with anyone when I was carrying this secret that was eating me alive? So here I am, now, 42 years old, divorced, childless, watching my biological daughter grow up calling someone else mom. Lily is 15 now. She's beautiful. She looks just like me when I was her age. Same eyes, same smile, same stubborn chin. Sometimes I wonder if Hannah notices. If she ever looks at Lily and thinks, she looks more like Grace than like me or David. But she never says anything. And I never say anything. Until this Thanksgiving. Hannah invited me over for Thanksgiving dinner like she does every year. It's always the same, the whole family crowded into her massive dining room in Kerrisdale, eating turkey and japchae and my mom's kimchi, everyone laughing and happy. And me, sitting there with this secret burning inside me, watching Lily laugh with her cousins, knowing she's mine and she'll never know. But this year was different. Because this year Lily was acting strange. I noticed it the moment I walked through Hannah's door. Lily was in the kitchen helping Hannah with the turkey, and when I greeted her, she barely looked at me. Her shoulders were tense, her smile forced. Something was wrong. "Lily, sweetie, are you feeling okay?" I asked, setting down the pumpkin pie I'd brought. "I'm fine, Aunt Grace," she said, but her voice was flat, distant. Hannah glanced between us, concern flickering across her face. "She's been like this all week, won't tell me what's bothering her. I thought maybe it was boy trouble or stress about her exams, but she just shuts down every time I ask." Throughout the afternoon, I watched Lily carefully. She moved through the house like a ghost, helping with preparations, but not really present. During the meal, she picked at her food, her eyes distant. And every now and then, I'd catch her looking at me with an expression I couldn't quite read. Confusion, anger, hurt. After dinner, while everyone was in the living room watching football and arguing about the Canucks' chances this season, I noticed Lily slip away upstairs. Something told me to follow her. Some instinct, some maternal pull that I'd been suppressing for 15 years. I found her in Hannah's study, sitting at the computer, her face illuminated by the blue glow of the screen. She was crying silently, tears streaming down her face, her shoulders shaking. "Lily," I said softly from the doorway. She jumped, quickly wiping her eyes. "Aunt Grace, I didn't hear you come up." "What's wrong, sweetheart? You've been upset all day." She looked at me for a long moment, and I saw something shift in her expression, a decision being made. She turned the computer screen toward me. It was an Ancestry DNA website, one of those genetic testing services that had become so popular. The screen showed a family tree, genetic matches, ethnicity breakdowns. I did one of these tests for a school project. My biology teacher thought it would be interesting for us to see our genetic makeup, understand inheritance patterns. Mom and Dad signed the permission slip. They thought it was educational. My heart started pounding. I knew where this was going. I'd read articles about these DNA tests, about how they were revealing family secrets that had been buried for decades. adoptions, affairs, switched babies at hospitals, and surrogacy arrangements where the truth had been hidden. The results came back 2 weeks ago, and something was wrong, really wrong. She clicked to a different page. It showed genetic relationships, a chart of DNA matches. According to this, she said, pointing at the screen, Mom isn't my biological mother. It says she's my aunt. That I share only 25% of my DNA with her, not 50% like I should if she were my mother. I couldn't breathe. The room felt like it was spinning. And there's more, she said, her voice getting higher, more panicked. The system found a match for my biological mother, someone who's also done one of these tests. It won't tell me who unless I pay for the premium account, but it says she's in the database and that she shares 50% of my DNA. She looked up at me with those eyes that were so much like mine, eyes I'd been looking at for 15 years, seeing myself reflected back, never saying a word. Aunt Grace, she whispered, I think maybe you did one of these tests for your own ancestry research or something, because the system says my biological mother is in Vancouver, and the age range matches you, and I look at you, and I look at old photos of you when you were younger, and I see me. The truth was sitting between us like a physical thing, heavy, undeniable. I could feel it pressing down on my chest, making it hard to breathe.
I could have lied. I could have said the test was wrong, that those things aren't always accurate, that she should talk to her parents. I could have told her I'd never done a DNA test, that it must be someone else, that she was jumping to conclusions. But I didn't, because I was so tired, so incredibly bone-deep tired of lying, of pretending, of watching my daughter grow up without knowing who she really was, of seeing her struggle with questions about why she didn't look like Hannah, why her blood type didn't match what it should be, why she had allergies that nobody in the family had. And because somewhere deep inside, I think I wanted this. I wanted the truth to come out. I wanted to stop carrying this secret that was eating me alive from the inside out. Lily, I said, my voice shaking, sit down. Please, I need to tell you something, and it's going to change everything. She sat down slowly, never taking her eyes off me, waiting, knowing, on some level, what was coming. You're right, I said. The DNA test is correct. Hannah isn't your biological mother. I am. The words hung in the air between us. I watched as Lily processed them, her face cycling through emotions, shock, confusion, disbelief, anger, hurt. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely a whisper. How? And so I told her. I told her everything. About the egg donor backing out at the last minute, about Linda, the clinic coordinator, offering to use my eggs instead, about how I was young and stupid and desperate to help my sister, and how I made a decision that I've regretted every single day for 15 years. I told her about the pregnancy, about the twins, about how I'd carried her and her brother for 32 weeks, feeling them move inside me, knowing they were mine, but pretending they weren't. And then I told her about Ethan. You had a twin brother, I said, tears streaming down my face. His name was Ethan. He died in utero at 7 months, something with the umbilical cord. And when you were born, he was born too, stillborn. Hannah and David buried him in Mountain View Cemetery. Lily's face had gone completely white. I had a brother? Yes, a twin brother, and I never got to grieve him properly because I was supposed to be just the surrogate, just the vessel. Hannah and David held a funeral, but I couldn't speak. I couldn't cry the way I wanted to, because nobody knew he was mine. Why? Lily asked, her voice breaking. Why didn't you tell them? Why didn't you tell me? Because I was scared. I was 26 years old, and I made a terrible decision, and I was terrified of what would happen if anyone found out. I thought maybe it didn't matter. I thought Hannah would be your mother in every way that mattered, that the biology was just details. And by the time I realized how wrong I was, how much it did matter, it was too late. The lie was too big. The secret was too deep. And I didn't know how to tell the truth without destroying everything. Does Mom know? Lily asked. No, nobody knows, except you and me now. And Linda, the clinic coordinator, but that was 15 years ago. She probably doesn't even remember. So my whole life is a lie? Lily said flatly. No, I said desperately. Your parents love you so much. David is still your biological father. Hannah raised you, cared for you, gave you everything. That's all real. The only lie is my role in it, my silence about whose eggs were actually used. But that's not a small lie, Aunt Grace. That's everything. That changes who I am, what I am. She stood up abruptly. I need to tell them, Mom and Dad. They need to know the truth. Lily, wait. I reached for her arm, but she pulled away. No, they deserve to know the truth. Everyone deserves to know the truth. This is too big. I can't just sit on this. She was already walking toward the door, toward the stairs, toward the living room where the entire family was gathered, and I followed her, my heart pounding, knowing that in the next few minutes, my entire world was going to explode. Lily stood in the doorway of the living room. Everyone looked up at her. Hannah, David, my parents, my younger brother Michael and his wife Sarah, Hannah's in-laws. The whole extended family gathered for Thanksgiving, completely unprepared for what was about to happen. I need to tell you something, Lily said. Her voice was trembling but determined. I did one of those DNA ancestry tests for school, and the results came back wrong. Hannah sat up straighter on the couch. Wrong how, sweetheart? It says you're not my biological mother, Lily said. It says you're my aunt, that I only shared 25% of my DNA with you. The room went completely silent. You could hear the football game still playing on the TV, announcers excitedly calling a play, but nobody was watching anymore. Everyone was staring at Lily, then at Hannah, then at me. Hannah's face had gone pale. That's not possible. Those tests aren't always accurate. Maybe there was a contamination or... Mom, I matched with my biological mother in the database, Lily interrupted. And Aunt Grace just confirmed it. She's my biological mother. The clinic used her eggs instead of a donor, and you never knew. I watched Hannah's face as she processed this, watched the confusion turn to comprehension, the comprehension turn to horror, the horror turned to something I'd never seen on my sister's face before. Rage. Grace? Hannah stood up slowly. Is this true? I couldn't speak. I just nodded. You, Hannah's voice was shaking. You knew? This whole time? 15 years? You let me think? You let me believe? I can explain. Explain what? Her voice was rising now. Explain how you lied to me for 15 years? How you let me raise your biological child without telling me? How every time I looked at my daughter, I was looking at your daughter, and you never said a word? David stood up, his face red. Grace, what the hell are you talking about? We used an egg donor. We selected her from a catalog. You were just the surrogate. The donor backed out at the last minute, and the clinic coordinator suggested using my eggs instead, said it wouldn't matter, that you'd never need to know. And I agreed, because I wanted to help Hannah, because I didn't want her to be disappointed again, because I was young and stupid and I didn't think it through. You didn't think it through?
Hannah's laugh was harsh, broken. You didn't think it would matter that my daughter is actually your daughter? My mother was crying. My father looked like he'd been punched. Michael was recording everything on his phone, probably out of shock more than anything else. David's parents were whispering frantically to each other. I wanted to tell you, I said desperately. So many times I wanted to tell you, but I was afraid you'd hate me, afraid you'd take Lily away, afraid the family would fall apart. Take her away? Hannah's voice cracked. She was never mine to begin with. My whole life as a mother is based on a lie. That's not true, I said. You are her mother. You raised her. You loved her. You were there for every midnight feeding, every skinned knee, every bad dream. Biology doesn't change that. Biology changes everything, Hannah screamed. Don't you see that? It matters that when Lily looks in the mirror, she sees your face, not mine. It matters that her medical history is your medical history. It matters that she's genetically your child, not mine. How can you say it doesn't matter? Lily was crying now, standing in the doorway, watching her entire world crumble. I don't understand who I'm supposed to be, she sobbed. Who am I supposed to call Mom? You call me Mom, Hannah said fiercely, turning to her. I'm your mother. I raised you, I loved you, I was there for every midnight feeding, every skinned knee, every bad dream. Grace is she's just, but she couldn't finish the sentence, because what was I? The aunt who was actually the mother? The sister who betrayed her? The surrogate who lied about everything? And there's more, I said quietly. Lily, you need to know everything. You had a twin brother. His name was Ethan. He died at 7 months in utero. Hannah and David buried him, but I never got to properly grieve him because I was pretending he wasn't mine. Lily's knees buckled. Sarah rushed forward to catch her, helping her to the couch. A brother? She whispered. I had a brother? Yes, and I'm so sorry you're finding out this way. I'm sorry for all of this. Hannah was shaking her head, backing away from me. I can't look at you right now. Get out. Hannah, please. Get out, she screamed. Get out of my house. Get away from my family. I can't. David put his hand on her shoulder. Hannah, let's... No, she shook him off. I want her gone now. My mother stood up. Grace, maybe you should go. Give everyone some time to process. Mom. Go, my father said, quietly. His voice was sad, disappointed, like he couldn't believe what I'd done. I looked at Lily one more time. She was crying silently, her whole body shaking. I wanted to go to her, to hold her, to tell her it was going to be okay. But I couldn't, because I wasn't her mother. Not really. Not in the way that mattered. So I grabbed my coat and walked out. Out of Hannah's house. Out of my family. Into the cold November night. I drove home in a daze, my mind numb. What had I done? In trying to end the lie, I'd destroyed everything. My relationship with my sister, my relationship with Lily, my place in the family. All of it gone in one terrible Thanksgiving confession. When I got home to my small apartment in Burnaby, I collapsed on the couch and cried. Not quiet tears, full body sobs that shook me to my core. 15 years of secrets, 15 years of guilt, 15 years of grief for Ethan and longing for Lily, all coming out at once. My phone started buzzing. Text messages from family members, missed calls, voicemails. I couldn't bring myself to look at them. I turned my phone off and just sat there in the dark, wondering how I was going to survive this. The next few days were hell. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. I called in sick to work. Hannah blocked me on everything: phone, text, social media. When I tried to go to her house, she threatened to call the police. My parents came over 3 days after Thanksgiving. They let themselves in with the spare key I'd given them years ago, found me on the couch where I'd been for 3 days straight, and sat down with me. "Grace," my mother said gently, "you need to eat something. You need to shower. You need to take care of yourself." "I can't," I whispered. "I destroyed everything, Mom. Hannah hates me. Lily's whole world is upside down. David wants to sue me. I ruined Thanksgiving. I ruined our family." "You made a mistake, a big one, but you were trying to help. You were trying to give your sister something she wanted desperately." "I lied for 15 years. That's not a mistake. That's a choice I kept making every single day." "Yes," my mother said, "you did. And there are consequences for that. But Grace, you also gave Hannah the greatest gift she could have asked for: a daughter." "Yes, the circumstances were complicated, wrong even, but Lily exists because of you, and that's not nothing." Hannah doesn't see it that way. Hannah is hurt and angry right now. Give her time. But time didn't make it better. A week passed. 2 weeks. Hannah refused all contact. She enrolled Lily in therapy to deal with the revelation. She and David met with lawyers to explore their legal options, though ultimately they decided against suing me. What would they sue for? Emotional distress? Fraud? The legal situation was too complicated, and dragging it through court would only hurt Lily more. But the silence was killing me. Not knowing how Lily was doing, whether she hated me, whether she understood why I'd kept the secret, not being able to explain myself to Hannah, to apologize properly, to try to make things right. 3 weeks after Thanksgiving, I got a text from an unknown number. My hands shook as I opened it. "Aunt Grace, it's Lily. I got a new phone. Mom doesn't know I'm texting you." I nearly dropped my phone. I typed back immediately. "Lily, are you okay?" "I don't know how to answer that," she said honestly. "My therapist keeps asking me the same thing, and I don't know what to say. I'm a lot of things. Confused, angry, hurt, but also curious. Is that weird?" "No, it's not weird at all."
"I've been thinking about everything you told me," Lily said, "about the clinic and the donor backing out and why you made the choice you did. And I don't agree with it. I think you should have told Mom and Dad the truth from the beginning. But I think I understand why you didn't. Lily, let me finish," she said, holding up a hand. "I've thought about this a lot, what I would have done if I were in your position. And I don't know, maybe I would have made the same choice. Maybe I would have thought it didn't matter whose eggs they were, that what mattered was giving my sister a baby." "It does matter," I said. "I see that now. It mattered then, and I was too young and stupid to realize it." "Yeah," she agreed. "It does matter, because now I don't know who I am. I spent 15 years thinking I was one person, and now I find out I'm someone completely different." "You're still you, Lily. You're still Lily. None of this changes who you are as a person." "Doesn't it?" she challenged. "I'm not who I thought I was. My whole identity was built on lies. I thought I knew where I came from, and now I don't." I didn't know what to say to that. She was right. I'd taken away her foundation, her understanding of herself, and I didn't know how to give it back. "Tell me about him," Lily said after a moment. "My brother, Ethan." My breath caught. This was something I could give her, a connection to the sibling she'd lost before she'd even known he existed. "He was smaller than you," I said quietly. 4 pounds, where you were 4 pounds, 2 ounces. The doctor said he'd probably stopped growing a few weeks before. That maybe if we'd caught it earlier. "It wasn't your fault," Lily said. "I know, but it feels like it sometimes.
Like I should have known, should have felt something was wrong. What did he look like? He looked like you, like me. He had your nose, your ears, your tiny, perfect fingers. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through old photos until I found the one I was looking for, a photo I'd taken secretly at the hospital when Hannah and David had stepped out of the room for a moment. Ethan, wrapped in a blue blanket, looking like he was sleeping. I showed it to Lily. She stared at it for a long time, tears running down her face. "He looks like me," she whispered. "He was your twin, your identical twin." "Did you get to hold him?" "Just once, for about 5 minutes, while Hannah was filling out paperwork. I held both of you, one in each arm, and I wanted so badly to tell you I was your mother, to claim you both, but I'd already signed away my rights. You were legally Hannah and David's children. But we weren't. Not really. Not genetically. Genetics isn't everything. Hannah is your mother, Lily, in every way that matters. She loved you before you were born. She was there for every moment of your life. She taught you how to walk, how to read, how to ride a bike. She stayed up with you when you were sick. She helped you with your homework. She cheered at your piano recitals. That's what makes someone a mother. Then what are you? If she's my mother, what are you?" "I don't know," I admitted. "I'm your biological mother. I'm your aunt. I'm the person who made a terrible mistake that affected all of us. I don't know what I am to you." "I think," Lily said slowly, "you're the person who gave me life and who loved me enough to want me to have the best possible life, even if that meant giving me to someone else. That's something. Is that enough?" "I don't know yet," she said honestly. "Ask me again in a year or 10 years. I'm still figuring this out." We talked for hours. I told her stories about the pregnancy, about feeling her kick, about the fears I'd had. She told me about growing up feeling like she didn't quite fit in, about looking in the mirror and not seeing Hannah or David reflected back, about genetic traits that never quite matched up with the family history she'd been given. I used to wonder if I was adopted. I'd look at my baby photos and think, where did I come from? Because I looked nothing like my parents or grandparents. And Mom would always say, "You get your looks from the egg donor." And I'd accept that. But deep down, I always felt like something was missing. "I'm sorry you felt that way," I said. "I'm so sorry you felt that way. If I told the truth from the beginning, you would have known." "Yeah, but maybe that would have been worse. Maybe growing up knowing that my aunt was actually my biological mother would have messed me up even more." "Maybe." I agreed. "We'll never know now. All we can do is figure out how to move forward from here. I want to know you, the real you, not just Aunt Grace who comes to Thanksgiving and sends birthday cards. I want to know my biological mother. Is that okay?" "More than okay," I said, tears streaming down my face. "I want that too." We started meeting regularly after that. Coffee after school, walks along the seawall, the occasional movie. We were getting to know each other in a new way, building a relationship that wasn't aunt and niece, but wasn't traditional mother and daughter either. Something in between. Something uniquely ours. But Hannah was a different story. She refused to see me, refused to talk to me. The few times I managed to get through to her, she'd hang up as soon as she heard my voice. My parents tried to mediate, but she wouldn't budge. "I feel like my entire life as a mother has been invalidated," Hannah told my mother. "Like I was just, I don't know, a babysitter? A stand-in? Like Grace was the real mother all along, and I was just pretending." "That's not true," my mother said. "You are Lily's mother. Biology doesn't change that." "Doesn't it?" Hannah asked bitterly, "because it feels like it changes everything." 6 months after that terrible Thanksgiving,
I finally convinced Hannah to meet with me. We met at a restaurant in Burnaby, neutral territory, with my mother as a mediator. Hannah looked terrible. She had lost weight, had gray in her hair that hadn't been there before. The stress of the situation was destroying her. "Thank you for agreeing to meet," I said. Hannah didn't respond. She just stared at her water glass, not looking at me. "I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. I know what I did was unforgivable, but I need you to know how sorry I am, how much I regret my choices, how I would give anything to go back and do it differently." "But you can't," Hannah said flatly. "You can't go back. We're stuck with this now." "I know, and I know I destroyed your trust. But Hannah, please believe me when I say I never meant to hurt you. I was trying to help. I made a terrible decision because I loved you and wanted you to be happy." "Well, congratulations," Hannah said bitterly. "You got me a daughter, your daughter, who I've raised for 15 years thinking she was mine. She is yours. You're her mother in every way that matters. Stop saying that." Hannah finally looked at me, and the pain in her eyes was unbearable. "Stop trying to make me feel better about this. It matters, Grace. It matters that she's biologically yours. It matters that when people see us together, they see you reflected in her face, not me. It matters that I can't answer basic medical history questions without lying. It matters." She was crying now, and so was I. "You're right," I said. "It does matter. And I'm so sorry. I'm sorry I lied. I'm sorry I took away your chance to know the truth from the beginning. I'm sorry I made this choice without you. I'm sorry for all of it." I spent 5 years trying to have a baby, 5 years of treatments and hormones and disappointments, and when we finally decided on surrogacy, when you offered to do it, I thought this was my chance, my miracle, and it was. But the whole time, it was your miracle, your baby. And I don't know what I was. You were her mother. From the moment she was born. Before that even, you were her mother. But I'm not. Not really. The DNA test proves it. She's yours. DNA doesn't make someone a mother. Love does, time does, being there does, and you've been there for every single moment of her life. That makes you her mother." We sat in silence for a while. My mother reached over and squeezed Hannah's hand. "I don't know if I can forgive you," Hannah said finally. "Not yet. Maybe not ever. What you did it was too big. Too much. But..." She paused, taking a shaky breath. "But Lily needs you. She's been talking about you, asking about you. She wants both of us in her life. And I love her too much to keep you away from her because of my own heart." "Thank you," I whispered. "Don't thank me yet," Hannah said. "This doesn't mean we're okay. This doesn't mean I trust you. This just means I'm trying to do what's best for my daughter." "I understand."
It's been 2 years since that Thanksgiving confession. 2 long, painful years of therapy and tears and difficult conversations. But slowly, gradually, we're rebuilding. Hannah and I will probably never be as close as we were before. There's a distance between us now, a wariness that wasn't there before. But we're civil. We can be in the same room. We can co-parent Lily in our strange, complicated way. Lily has 2 mothers now, one who raised her, one who gave birth to her, and somehow, miraculously, she's okay with that. She calls Hannah Mom and me Grace, but there's a softness in her voice when she says my name that wasn't there before, a recognition of what I am to her. Last week, we went to Mountain View Cemetery together, all 3 of us, to visit Ethan's grave, to honor the brother and son we'd all lost in different ways. Hannah brought flowers, white roses, Ethan's birth flower. Lily brought a letter she'd written, telling her brother about her life, about the sister he'd never got to meet. And I brought a small teddy bear, the same one I'd bought when I first learned I was pregnant with twins. We stood there together in the falling snow, 3 women bound by love and loss and lies, finally united in grief. I'm sorry I never let you properly mourn him, Hannah said quietly. I was so focused on Lily, on being a mother to her, that I forgot you'd lost a child too. It's okay, I said. No, it's not. You carried him for 7 months. You felt him move. And when he died, you couldn't even grieve publicly because of this secret. That wasn't fair. None of this has been fair, I said. Not to any of us. No, Hannah agreed. It hasn't. Lily placed her letter on the grave, weighing it down with a rock so it wouldn't blow away. Do you think he knows, she asked, about all of this? About us? I think, Hannah said carefully, that wherever he is, he knows he was loved by all of us. We stood there a while longer, the three of us, before finally heading back to the car. On the drive home, Lily reached forward from the back seat and squeezed both our shoulders. Thank you, she said, both of you, for loving me enough to work through this. Always, Hannah and I said simultaneously. And in that moment, I felt something shift. Not forgiveness exactly, not absolution, but maybe the beginning of healing. The start of something new built on the ruins of what had been destroyed. This Thanksgiving, we're all going to Hannah's house again. It won't be like it was before. That innocence, that simplicity is gone forever. But we'll be together, all of us, acknowledging the complicated truth of our family. I'll never stop regretting the lie. The years I spent in silence, watching Lily grow up without knowing I was her mother. The pain I caused Hannah, David, my whole family. The confusion I caused Lily. But I also know that some good came from it. Lily exists because of the choices I made, however flawed they were. And maybe, eventually, that will be enough. The truth destroyed us, but maybe, just maybe, it will also save us. If you're keeping a secret, learn from my mistake. Tell the truth. It will hurt. It will be hard, but lies hurt more. They hurt deeper. They hurt longer. Tell the truth before it's too late, before the secret becomes bigger than you can control, before it explodes and takes everything with it. I told the truth 15 years too late. Don't be like me. Happy Thanksgiving.